Happy New Year, Declan.
Happy New Year, George.
Welcome back to the Unqualified Filmbros podcast. It's just two of
hmm
us tonight, but
hmm
Declan and I have done it before. Don't Look Up, I think, was the episode that it was just you and me,
That's the one that's
which
jumping
is,
out to me. The film we both inexplicably loved.
hey, I loved it, and I'm not ashamed to
Yeah.
say that.
No, I loved it as well, but I am ashamed to say it. That's the difference.
That tracks, just
hmm
based on your Letterboxd reviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Tonight we're talking about a movie that we enjoyed significantly less than
hmm
Don't Look Up, even though it might get more critical acclaim than Don't Look Up, which would also be Word of the Night, Inexplicable.
hmm
So let's get into it. We're talking about Ferrari, Michael Mann's latest directorial venture.
hmm
Declan, what'd you think?
I'm remembering this moment now that like I think encapsulates it. I'm sitting in the theater and like the movie starts and it's like it has like a big like title screen like 1947, Ferrari has just like is starting his company in war torn Italy. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Starting up a company after the entire country was ravaged by conflict and like going from there. Wow, that sounds really cool. And then it immediately cuts to a big title card, 1957. Ferrari is now here and and I'm just like, oh, this takes place in 1957. Okay, I guess let's see how this is more interesting. And then sadly the film didn't become interesting. I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't like hate it or anything like that. But walking
Yeah,
out of the film, I was not left with a feeling of like, wow. And so for this is truly a defining moment in Enzo Ferrari's life that truly like needs a biopic to tell this moment.
well,
When
that's sort of where I walked out feeling. Um,
mm,
I think first of all, when you think of a biopic,
mm,
you're thinking of something that covers a span of life. This
mhm.
film covers a few months
Yeah.
of Enzo Ferrari's life and career.
hmm
You're not really getting the sense of, oh, how he built his racing empire, how he built up his business, what happened after the crash in 1957, you know, could have destroyed his legacy. It didn't.
hmm
You know, his marriage obviously was a big part of the movie, but
hmm
we only saw when it was bad, except for
Yeah.
one flashback of the good times. So
Mm.
in, you go on like Wikipedia and it says this is a biographical sports drama. It's biographical of the events of 1957. It's not
hmm
biographical of Enzo Ferrari. And I think
No.
that's where the disconnect was I was expecting a little bit more about Ferrari's life and career, and it
Mhm.
just Adam Driver is very, very good,
He is.
and
He
and
is.
Penelope Cruz is very good.
Mhm.
Shailene Woodley is also in the movie. Patrick Dempsey is very good.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Man who I just learned was an actual race car driver minutes before we started. Thank you, George.
You're welcome. I'm always down
Mhm.
to share a fun fact. In case you didn't know, audience members, uh, Patrick Dempsey was a professional race car driver before he turned to acting.
Mhm.
And I think maybe even the careers have overlapped a little bit, but he actually gets to drive a Formula One, a 50s era Formula One car in this movie,
Mhm.
which must have been really cool for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, this
Almost makes
this
up for
movie
his obviously fake white hair.
that was a
Or
little
not
jarring.
obviously fake. I don't know. It's just like
It
weird.
it was kind of jarring though, because
Mhm.
especially at the end when he wins. What's the name of the race? Because I can't.
Like it's like Mita
It's the
Mari
Mille Miglia.
Mila Media.
It's
Mhm.
Italian for I think a thousand miles.
Oh, that
Um,
that makes sense. That makes
which
sense.
Vanessa Carlton could never. But, you know, when he wins that race, he takes off his, his goggles and his helmet, and he's got,
Mm,
all the ash and sort of
mm,
dirty, sweaty grime on his face.
mm,
And then he takes off, and, he's a white man,
mm.
and then he's got white, you know, as white as the wall behind your shoulder,
Yeah,
Declan. That's
just
his hair.
completely. Yeah.
So that was a little jarring.
Mm,
But it didn't take away from the viewing experience because, you know, there really wasn't much of a viewing experience. I
like,
wrote in my Letterboxd review,
yeah.
there's one spectacular moment in this film,
Mm,
and that's
I think I know what it is.
the slow motion. You see the obstacle, it's a brick, or it's a something
Mm,
in the
mm,
middle of the road on the straightaway.
mm,
Um, and forgive me again for forgetting the character's name. Uh,
mm,
Deportago.
mm.
First of all, the famous photograph, the kiss of death. If you, I don't know, Declan, did you know the history of this crash? And
I don't
so
believe I do.
after the episode, go look it up. There's a famous photograph taken during the Mila Miglia,
Mm.
which is Deportago kissing his uh, beloved girlfriend, wife. I don't remember. She was another
Oh.
character in the film, though.
Mm, mm,
Um, and it's called the kiss of death because she described the kiss afterwards as feeling very cold. Um, and
mm,
then, of course, he goes and he crashes moments later,
mm.
killing himself and 10 others,
Yeah.
which is just a horrific tragedy.
Mm,
I was familiar with the photograph, so I knew he was going to die in the race. I was not familiar with the result of his crash. So when we get that slowdown and then you
mm,
just see the tire nick the little
mm.
sort of thing in the road, and then it speeds up and it's just you're wiping out a crowd of people with a car.
There
And
was
people
an
are getting
audible
chopped in
gasp.
half, people are
Mm.
getting dismembered.
Oh.
You get that really horrific looking sort of, I don't know what it is, a dummy lying on
Mm.
the ground with the really
Oh
weird
gosh,
looking
yeah.
bulged out eyes.
Like all of a sudden, like the scene of like the father grabbing the young kid and like pulling him away, I feel like was
Mhm.
just like like
No,
just like
it'll get you.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
but just how horrific that moment was, that true to life moment.
Hmm.
But the way that Michael Mann orchestrated that in the film,
Hmm.
that was the one. Like you go into certain movies and you can take away a lot that's great. You go into some movies, there's nothing that's great. There's some movies,
Hmm.
this one,
Hmm.
where there's one shining moment,
Yeah.
and that's
And
it. And that's, you gave
it
it
is
three
also
stars
a
on.
moment that does not contain Enzo Ferrari as a character at
That's
all.
very true. That's a good point. You gave this movie 3 stars on Letterboxd. I was leaning 3. I gave
Hmm.
it the bump to 3.5 just because of that moment.
That's fair. That actually is that's fair. That's fair. It's like it's it's sort of disappointing because again, it's like here's the other thing that's like disappointing. Throughout the film, I was constantly, and I know you thought about this as well. It's like there was two modes I feel like I was in. I was when that moment happened, I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, whoa, just whoa. And other moments I was like, oh hey, that's sort of like from Ford versus Ferrari, but the other side. Like this film was one Matt Damon cameo away from being like a direct
I'm sorry.
like
If it was a Matt Damon cameo, it would have just been the last duel over again with Adam Driver.
you didn't even think about that shit. That is true. That is actually true. No, but it's like there are moments that I feel like they're like actively like assume you've seen Ford versus Ferrari to give more content. I mean, not actually, but if you told me Michael Mann specifically decided to make this film after watching Ford versus Ferrari, that would make total sense.
It wouldn't
But
be
the problem,
surprising in the least.
yeah, but the problem is that was all. It feels like that was the entire reason Michael Mann decided to make this film. You know, it's like I never felt like, again, it's like Enzo Ferrari is an Italian businessman who has an illegitimate child and marriage problems. Like that's all I feel like I took away from this. Also, race car driving is dangerous, especially in 1950s and 60s. Like,
What I got from this movie, and I'm so glad that Ben isn't here to say anything. Like, Ben, I love you, but I get to say my piece right now without your challenges. Um, the racing sequences of this movie are where it shines.
mm,
The way that they're shot, the way that they're cut, the way that they're sort of designed in terms of the coursework and the setup of the cars. Um, those are the best sequences of the movie.
mm,
The third act at the Mille Miglia
mm.
is, you know, it's
I feel like that's
the best
there's at
part of the
least
movie.
some degree of tension there.
But here's where Ben would argue, Declan, and I'm worried you might as well. So shut up,
Okay.
shut up and listen, Declan. Uh, Napoleon,
Mm,
Ridley Scott's Napoleon that we reviewed, I don't know, 6 weeks
mm,
ago. It's it's at its absolute best in the battle sequences,
mm,
and then there's not much else there for the rest of the movie. I mean, Vanessa Kirby is great.
mm,
We obviously have a difference of opinion about Joaquin Phoenix's performance in that movie, but we can, refer people to that episode
mm.
to see our discussion on that. But this movie, I mean, Adam Driver, good
Yeah,
performance.
yeah,
Penelope Cruz, good performance.
yeah.
But I feel disinterested
Mm,
in watching their marriage fall apart because other than that one flashback, I'll say again,
mm,
we don't know the good times.
mm.
Like we
Like,
start the movie and he's with Shailene Woodley's character.
yeah, and
He's
they're
already
like,
having the affair.
and the other thing I'll say is like in regards to Napoleon, even I feel like that film at the very least was like like whether or not it succeeded is another question that we've gone back and forth on. But at the very least, I do feel like it at least had like something to say about Napoleon. Like it was at least making a
Yeah.
point about him. I feel like maybe it's partially that the film was very like low key about a lot of plot points. Like they're just sort of like, oh, we might need a like they say like so quietly, like, oh, we might need a partner in order to save Ferrari from going bankrupt. And
That could have been a
also
big part of the movie. They could
like
have
yeah,
they
like
could have
if
run with that. They didn't.
like it's so it's like it's if you're not paying attention to it, you could almost like miss it that they're like, oh, this is really important. But at the same time, it's not like Ferrari is like doing everything he can to like make sure the Mille like wins. Like he talks to the driver, sure, but I feel like it's not this like driving force that's like dominating his thought. Like it just seems like it's
Driving
like, oh,
force.
enough. I know. It's like as I said, I'm like, wow. But no, it's like it feels like it's just a slightly more inconvenient week for Enzo Ferrari, rather than
Yeah.
like a
But like
true. Mm,
at all of the like lunch table scenes with all the drivers and the
mm,
team, the pit crew and the analysts and all that, and Enzo
mm,
Ferrari, you know, when they're talking about the racing, and then when they're actually, on the course, and it's about, you know, what racing means to Enzo, what the
mm,
stakes are, it gets very good. The
mm.
problem is that's only half the movie.
Yeah.
And yes, you do have to, if you're calling this a biopic, you gotta show the other side of his life. You gotta show his
Mm,
crumbling marriage, his affair, his other family.
mm,
But I'll say it again. I didn't
Yeah,
I wasn't grabbed by half of
like
this movie.
the affair isn't interesting. I hate to say they could have made it interesting by
That's
maybe like
that's
maybe
Shailene
like
Woodley's doing.
that's that's a little. I can't argue with that. Never mind.
Like
No,
you
no, but it's
weren't
like,
Declan, you weren't on the Dumb Money episode back in September, but
oh
she
yeah,
was in that too, and
oh, yeah. I yeah, no, but it's like
she's not winning any Oscars. I'll say that
mhm.
much.
So you after she was robbed for Divergent for by not winning for Divergent that year.
Haven't seen them.
No,
Not gonna
I
waste
haven't.
my time.
No, neither. No, but like you could make it interesting by like maybe showing like, oh, they met during wartime and like, oh, that's kind of interesting. But no, we don't see any of that beyond like a single short flashback. So as it stands, it's just this guy who lost a son with one family and currently has an illegitimate family. It's like they
Okay.
don't do anything with it that's not just like there are many films with something like this, and they don't make like at least like find some connection that like why Enzo would turn to this other woman that like having to do with cars. I don't even know how, but like something like I just feel like it was just like and she herself even specifically doesn't give him like grief or anything like that
She
for it. Like
Shailene
so,
Woodley's character
mhm,
is completely bland. And like
like
I don't discredit the performance because I think it was a poorly written character. I don't know
mhm,
the history of her character's life and relationship with Enzo Ferrari,
mhm,
but there wasn't much for Shailene Woodley to do here. And you contrast that with Penelope Cruz, who was asked to do a lot.
mhm,
And unfortunately, what Penelope Cruz is asked to do in a lot of scenes is the cliche strained relationship,
mhm,
you know, wife character of a major historical man who,
mhm,
we've seen that character 1,000 times in 1,000 movies.
mhm,
She gives a great performance and she's got some really, really powerful dialogue, some
mhm.
really emotional scenes,
But
but
the overall
that,
story just doesn't like snap, doesn't
and I feel
click
like
much.
that's a pattern we're falling into. Like, say what you will about Napoleon
Mm.
as a biopic, at least it had a story.
Yes, yes, like
When we did my
100%.
when we did Maestro a few weeks ago, we can you and I remember it well.
Yeah.
We were talking about how great Bradley Cooper was, how great Carey Mulligan was. There's no
Mm.
story. And
Hmm.
here it's like they want to tell a bunch of different stories.
Hmm.
Or really, really, they want to tell two stories. They want to tell the
Hmm.
story of his racing and his empire, and they want to tell the story of his relationship and his life and his other family and his illegitimate son.
Hmm.
And you got to find a way to bring the two together,
Hmm.
but they were kept so separate that,
Hmm.
you know, in all of the scenes with the racing and the other
Hmm.
drivers and everything to do with the company, I wasn't thinking about Penelope Cruz or Shailene Woodley at all.
No.
And in the
Yeah.
scenes with Penelope Cruz and Shailene Woodley,
Hmm.
all I'm thinking is, can we get back to the racing?
Yeah. Yeah. Like Ford versus Ferrari, like again, like we like I feel like I gotta compare them. Ford versus Ferrari does a great job of like building up why this race is important to each individual character and like showing them working like towards this race towards making the best car that they can like there's the through line of Ford wanting to prove itself or various people wanting to prove themselves through this race that they're about to embark on like there's a through line there is no like thematic through line here in the two genres of scenes. Beside the only through line is that Adam Driver wears sunglasses in both of them. By the way, I will say this: if you like Adam Driver wearing sunglasses, this is a must see. Like he wears sunglasses quite often in this
And you know
film.
what? He wears them well.
He does. He does 100.
It's a
He does
good
100%.
look.
Even at night when he wears them, it's like it actually is like still a good look. At the start of the race, he's wearing sunglasses when it's like clearly dark out, which made me laugh and made me think of Blues Brothers. Another film that I'm not thinking about while watching Ferrari.
I was, truth be told, I was barely thinking about Ferrari when I was watching Ferrari.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
this is the kind of movie that
Mm,
if we weren't doing it on the pod, I definitely would not have seen it in theaters,
mm.
and I don't know if I would have like chosen to watch it.
I might
Like
have like
I'm
been like, oh, Adam Driver in a biopic. Like if I'm like scrolling through a
yeah,
streaming service, but then I wouldn't finish it because I'm like, this film, it's not. I don't know what this is about. It's
it's
kind of
it's just
dull.
something that like yes, it will pique your interest with Michael Mann, you know,
Mhm,
with Heat and Collateral. Like the guy's
mhm.
got the track record.
Yes.
He's got Adam Driver, he's got Penelope Cruz. Like
Mhm,
those are A-list superstars at the top of your cast.
mhm.
Do something with that. It's like when Spielberg, and I don't hate me. It's like when Spielberg did The Post.
Mhm.
Got Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep. Mediocre movie.
I haven't seen the post yet, so I can't fully
What?
comment.
You're the
No, I know,
Spielberg guy. Come
I
on,
know, I
Declan.
know. It's
I've seen that. Spielberg's my most watched director. I've seen that movie.
yeah, I know. I
Come
really,
on,
I
man.
know, I know. There,
I'm gonna
there
give,
are
you
some
know what? I'm gonna
embarrassing.
give that title to Christopher Nolan this year. Spielberg doesn't deserve it.
Mm.
My most watched director should be Christopher Nolan.
Just go and
It's
watch the
sure as shit.
Prestige.
Speaking of bad biopics that we've watched,
Mm.
it's sure as shit not gonna be Baz Luhrmann. God, Elvis sucked.
Though I
You know
will,
what? Thank God that Ferrari was not 2 hours and 37 minutes.
yeah.
It spared
Though
us
I
after
will,
211.
even Elvis at least has the through line
No,
of
shut
the
up. Shut up.
relationship.
Shut up. That's
Fair,
enough out of
fair.
you.
The relationship between no, okay, I'll stop. I'll stop. But it's like again, it's like I'm not. I won't say I'm like disappointed because it's not like I'm not like a person or anything like that. It's not like this film was on my radar, but like given the talent involved, I think I would have kind of expected something that would have grabbed me more.
More.
It has again the crash scene is genuinely amazing. Like that's a phenomenal scene, and I mean Adam Driver, friend of the pod, is like entered. Like I enjoy watching him in films, but like the the character and story, I again, it just never clicked. It never convinced me that Enzo Ferrari was a very interesting figure with its movie or like said something about him that like resonated at any point in my opinion and that's
And that's, you chalk it up to disappointment, I guess, when you walk out of the theater. Because Enzo
mhm.
Ferrari, historically, very interesting dude.
Yeah.
You talk about just everyday conversations, standing around at work at the water cooler. Oh, I saw a Ferrari on my drive into work today. I've never
Mm.
said that. I've never hung out by the water cooler, by the way. I'm just talking about your stereotypical like The
Mhm.
Office type.
Mhm.
Michael Scott would look out his window and see a Ferrari, and the entire episode would be about him trying to
Mhm.
get a Ferrari.
Yes. Yes.
Like Ferraris as a car are almost like to middle class people, they're like this fantasy almost.
Mhm.
I would even call it like, what's the word I'm looking for?
What's
It's like
really
the dream car, the midlife crisis car,
mhm.
you know,
The car just out of reach that you're
just
too.
out of reach. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Really
but like,
funny to me. I got to tell you, George. You saying that is super similar to Lady Gaga's opening monologue in House of Gucci. I don't know if you've
and
seen it yet.
I want to thank you again for doing the rapid review on that because
Mm.
there's no way in hell I was going to see that movie.
No.
I was Ridley Scotted out after the last duel, and
Wow.
that was like 2 months later.
Still weird that like again, I will say this. House of Gucci is what is in my opinion a more successful like film because it again has a coherent like it's saying something about these people it's depicting it like I feel like I am taking away yeah like I feel like I took away stuff from that film and all that so yeah. In terms of Adam Driver Italian biopics I gotta go with House of Gucci.
That I don't. Did you expect when you saw Ferrari, or not when you saw Ferrari? Did you expect when you were walking into the theater for Ferrari that you would pick House of Gucci over Ferrari?
I I would have I think I would have honestly assumed it's like, oh, Michael Mann and Adam Driver about Ferrari. That's got to be more compelling than Gucci. I mean, it's like
But to to just to finish my point, the idea of
sorry.
the car. No, it's fine. Uh, the idea of the car, a
Mm,
Ferrari, achieving this sort of cultural mythos
mm,
of, oh man, I'm gonna save up for my entire life. I'll never be able to afford a Ferrari,
mm,
which, I actually don't know off the top of my head how much a Ferrari costs. Probably a lot
probably.
of money. I don't think that's a very poor guess to make. Um, but with this sort of cultural status, to have a biopic about the car's creator, its
Mm,
namesake, you want something more. You
mm,
expect it to at least be interesting throughout.
yeah, no. And the fact that it wasn't a real disappointment, I can't say anything else.
Yeah, I think we can pretty much leave it there. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
Ferrari is, and again, maybe we're just biopicked out after the
Possible.
last, 6 weeks or so. But, you know, Adam Driver gives a good performance. Probably
Hmm.
won't get any award season recognition.
No, yeah,
Penelope
unlikely.
Cruz gives a great performance. Probably won't get any award season recognition. Michael Mann, say what you will about the quality of the story.
Hmm.
Michael Mann directs the hell out of this.
Hmm. True.
For what it is as a screenplay, he does a lot with it.
Hmm.
It's visually good to look at,
Hmm.
again,
Yeah.
the slow motion scenes with the two major crash sequences. Gets a little weird when you see the bodies flying through the air.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's like
Yeah. No, yeah. It's probably supposed to be somewhat jarring, sort of, but yeah, I can't disagree with that.
it almost, and I don't want to go so far as to say it looks like the baby's falling out of the hospital in the Flash,
It's cruel.
but it did evoke that comparison. I'm not saying it's as bad.
No, but
It popped into my head the
yeah.
first time. The second time I was too honestly blown away by
Hmm.
the spectacle of the crash
Hmm.
and then the car going through the crowd and,
Hmm.
dismembered, disfigured, decapitated people.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think we leave it there. Ferrari is currently playing in movie theaters.
Let us know your thoughts.
Form your own opinion on it is,
Yeah.
I guess, what I'll say. If you want a good Formula One movie from this decade, go watch Gran Turismo on Netflix.
Hmm. Or Ford versus Ferrari, or Ford
or
versus
Ford v
Ferrari.
Ferrari. I don't know off the top of my head where that's streaming, but it's probably streaming somewhere.
Somewhere. No, no.
Um,
Take it out from your local library,
support
as
your local
well.
library.
Amen. We at the Unqualified Film Bros podcast always do that.
Certainly you and I do. I don't know about Max and Ben, but you and I, we
Mhm.
support our
Yeah,
local libraries.
yeah, right on.
So please, in the comments below, give Declan and me some praise for that.
Yes, yes.
We have a very, very special episode planned for you next week. Fingers crossed the other guys are back for it. Not going to tell you what it is. We're still working out a couple of the details for it, but we are very, very excited about it. Um, I guess I'll leave it at that. So, form your own opinion on Ferrari. Watch Ford v Ferrari. Watch Gran Turismo. Just watch Formula One, I guess. I don't watch it, but I'm given to understand from a couple of friends that it's kind of interesting.
Aiden's a fan of it.
Aiden's a fan of it.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll do Formula One chess as his first broken chess of the year.
Mm.
I'm,
I don't even know what that would be.
I don't either. That's for him to figure out. All right. We will see you next week with the other guys.
Mhm.
Happy New Year. Good night.
Happy New Year.